What we're about to walk through, it isn't history, and it's definitely not science fiction. This is a real scenario, a minute-by-minute breakdown of a nuclear attack on the US, built entirely from declassified government plans. Think about that for a second. The world could end in the next couple of hours. That's not a line from some disaster movie. It's a real quote from General Robert Keeler, the guy who used to be in charge of America's entire nuclear arsenal. And believe me, he wasn't being dramatic. He was just stating a fact of the world we live in. Okay, so let's get one thing straight right out of the gate. What you're about to see is not made up. It's a terrifyingly detailed scenario pieced together from actual declassified documents and, interviews with the very people who created these war plans. So, this whole nightmare scenario has a name. Military planners call it a bolt out of the blue. And it's exactly what it sounds like. A massive, surprise nuclear attack that comes with absolutely no warning. It's the ultimate sucker punch, designed to take a country out before it even knows what hit it. And how do we know all these chilling details? Well, look at this list. The information comes straight from the horse's mouth. We're talking former secretaries of defense, CIA directors, the actual scientists who designed the bombs. These are the people whose entire job was to think about the unthinkable, to plan for this exact day. All right, let's get into the scenario itself. It starts right here. A single 1 megaton thermonuclear bomb explodes directly over the Pentagon, the very heart of the US military. The very first thing that happens is heat. But we're not talking hot. We're talking 180 million degrees Fahrenheit. I mean, just try to wrap your head around that. That's 4 to 5 times hotter than the center of the sun. It's like a new star is born right on top of Washington, D.C. And the physics of this, it's just unbelievably fast. In 1/1,000,000th of a second, faster than you can even think, a fireball erupts. A few seconds later, that fireball is more than a mile wide. And the heat, this radiant heat, is traveling at the speed of light, setting everything on fire for miles and miles around. Right at ground zero, there isn't really an explosion in the way we think of one. The Pentagon, that massive building, and the 27,000 people working inside, they're just gone. Instantly. They're not killed, they're converted into superheated dust. Nothing is left. Nothing. But that initial flash, that's just the opening act. Now we get to the minutes after the blast. This is where a whole city and its 6 million people are about to be erased by a horrifying trifecta of fire, wind, and radiation. Just to put this in perspective, imagine it's a normal day. 2.5 miles away from the Pentagon, 35,000 fans are at Nationals Park, enjoying a baseball game. And then, that wave of heat hits them. It travels at the speed of light, so there's no warning. It just ignites their clothes, instantly giving them fatal third-degree burns. Now, this attack creates something like 1 million people with severe burns. Think about that number, 1 million. And the medical system to deal with it, in the whole DC area, there are maybe 10 specialized burn beds. Across the entire country, only about 2,000. The math is just, it's brutal. For pretty much everyone hurt, there is no help coming. And this isn't a new problem. This gets to the cold, hard logic of how planners have thought about this for decades. This old civil defense diagram basically shows their triage plan, and for most people caught in the blast, there's no plan to rescue them. They're categorized with this absolutely chilling official term, dead when found. Okay, so after the heat, you get the blast wave. We all know how powerful a hurricane is, right? Hurricane Sandy had winds around 80 miles per hour. The blast wave from this bomb, we're talking winds of several hundred miles per hour. It's not wind. It's a solid wall of air that pulverizes buildings and throws trucks around like they're Hot Wheels cars. And then, of course, you have the mushroom cloud. It's this iconic, terrifying image, but it's important to understand what it actually is. That fireball starts rising fast, sucking up all that vaporized debris from the city. It carries it all the way up to 10 miles high, way above where airplanes fly. And then it spreads out, dropping this witch's brew of radioactive fallout all over the place for hours. And just when you think it can't get any worse, there's the firestorm. We're not talking about a bunch of separate fires. We're talking about a single giant inferno. Gas lines are exploding everywhere. The asphalt on the roads is literally melting. All those small fires combine into one unstoppable monster that's so intense it actually creates its own wind, its own weather system. So all of this probably leads you to a really big and kinda scary question. How on earth can anybody know this stuff in such horrifying detail? Yeah, how does the US government have all these facts and figures about nuclear effects down to a science, while the rest of us were pretty much completely in the dark? Well, the answer is just as chilling as the scenario itself. For more than 70 years, our own government has been quietly preparing for this, rehearsing it, wargaming it. They've been building a whole secret playbook for how to fight a full-blown nuclear war. So, to be crystal clear, none of this is a prediction. What we've been looking at is basically a reverse engineering of the government's own secret plans. These are actual strategies from declassified documents designed to make sure the government can keep running, even after hundreds of millions of its citizens are dead. The horror isn't an accident, it's part of the plan. Which leaves us with one last kinda heavy thought to chew on. Everything we just went through, it's based on official plans, on paper. So, what does it really mean for you and me to live in a world where the end of everything has a documented strategy? Where the apocalypse has a playbook?